Got a real good opponent this week. Look, this team's playing at a high level. They've been playing pretty good. Obviously, got Fields back against us the first time, and played a really good game against us. We were fortunate to come out with a win. And then Minnesota, man, they playing at a high level right now. The quarterback's playing well. He's dangerous with his legs. This defense is opportunistic. 8 turnovers in 2 games. And they're relentless, man. This team plays hard. So, we're going to have our hands full this week. There's nothing easy about this one. Questions?
It was an impactful 11 snaps for Bruce Irvin. I'm curious, does that put you in a position where you want to get him on the field more based on the sample size you saw last week?
Yeah, I mean, I think we would like to work him in more, and that was the plan last week was give him some opportunities and then, see where he's at there, see how he handled it, see how his body is, and then potentially get him some more. So we're looking into that. But yeah, I would say he's earned that.
How about the defensive tackle spot? Losing Aleem obviously hurts. Maybe you can address that. But beyond that, you got a few day 2 draft picks, Levi, Broderick, and Josh, that haven't done a ton in their careers to this point. What sort of opportunity is it for them to maybe get going and jumpstart?
It's a great opportunity for those guys, and that's all you can ask for. If you're one of them, you're excited. Let me say this: losing Mac for these 4 weeks is going to be tough because he's been a reliable, steady, productive player for us, and he's really come into his own this year. I mean, he's just grown every year, but this year he was big. He was a force for us. Guys got a lot of respect for him. So, that hurts. But at the same token, man, this train moves on. And that's the nature of the game we play in. And we've dealt with it all year. We've dealt with it 3 years. Every team goes through it, and so it's next man up. It's a great opportunity. Levi, Broderick, Bohannon, Bugs. I mean, everybody, we're looking at next man up, and these guys are going to get an opportunity to prove their worth here and help us out.
In particular, obviously, the injury last year. He's been back this year, hasn't played a whole lot. What's he still need to do, I guess, to get on the field? What's kept him off the field?
Yeah, I just think there again, it's been reps, and some of these come down to, just the position itself between the bigs in the middle to OLB to hybrid, and Kaminsky's kind of a hybrid. Romeo's a little bit in that nature. And so, we can't overload in one position or another. And so it's just he's kind of been the odd guy out, but he works his rear off. And it's really time on task. The more reps he gets, the better he's going to be. And he continues to grow. So, we're not disappointed with him. I mean, we're excited that he's healthy and he's able to work, man. And he is growing. He is getting better.
What was Isaiah Buck show you this week to have more of an opportunity to beat out the others?
Yeah, just be reliable. Reliable, dependable, do your job. Be consistent.
Besides the hole on the defensive line, how else does Aleem being out affect your defense? Like other guys, do you have to play things a different way to a certain degree because he was such a force?
I don't know. I mean, there'll be some things that come up in a few situations, but I don't think as a whole we're going to need to change what we do. We'll still be able to function and live in the world we lived in. I mean, certainly, yeah, there'll be a couple of adjustments, but I don't think these are going to be major things for us.
I'm going to ask this just because a lot of fans have been asking you. You added Tyson to the practice squad, kind of following the Schofield, Irvin, bringing in veterans, but just a lot of interest in Ndamukong Suh, I think, just because of the ties to this town, the fact that he's kind of floated interest in still playing. Have you guys looked into that possibility at all as a guy that you've experienced coaching in the past?
Yeah, listen, Brad's looked at all of it. I mean, we haven't overlooked anybody. Brad, we got all up there. We looked at everybody. So at this moment, we've made the decision we felt like was best for us.
Dan, you've been in this position before with this team. What concerns you most playing an opponent who's looking for revenge and trying to derail your into the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the whole revenge factor. I mean, we're hungry, you know, and we got to win to win, you know. So we want this too now. I mean, and I think for them, look, man, they're playing pretty good football right now, and they want to win, you know. So I think I'm not worried about revenge. I'm worried about what this team presents. You know, Justin Fields, man, he's an issue. Moore, he's an issue. This D line is long, explosive. They run, they hit, they're sound. You know, this returner on kickoff return, Jones. I mean, so just like any other week, you know, it's the issues inside the game. You know, from the matchups, the one-on-one matchups to the scheme, the schematic. You know, look, weather's going to play a factor in this one, but it's also, that's a great equalizer. You know, I love that. Turnovers and weather is a great equalizer. It puts you on a little bit more even playing ground. And I feel like that works for us too. You know, I'm sure they feel like it works for them. It works for us too. So this is going to be good. This is going to be a good battle.
What do you guys Tyson bring to the table? And is it similar to Bruce? Is he going to need a little bit of time to kind of get acclimated and learn your system?
Yeah, I think, you know, we had him out yesterday. He's been staying in shape. He looked good. Just wanted to see what he looked like, you know, did the medical and so it's okay, here we go. And let's get him in shape. Let's get him in football shape like Bruce. And honestly, it's a guy who brings the floor. He brings stability. And so you kind of know what you're going to get, exactly what you're going to get, and that gives us comfort, you know. And he's got a little versatility to him. And there again, he's an addition to the roster. And so once we get him to where we feel like, all right, he's in game shape or he's ready to do that, then we'll make a decision. Do we, you know, let's see if he can help us.
Jim Leland, a former Stargate manager, made the Hall of Fame recently and was known in part for how he related to players, understanding people, human nature. You're building a similar rep. I'm just curious your thoughts on that part of coaching and just kind of how important that is, no matter the sport, obviously.
It's a lot. It's a lot, you know. It's a lot. You know, you have to be able to understand kind of where everybody's coming from, the psyche of the players, the coach, all of it. You know, there's and so I think it's a huge part of it. You know, you got to be able to do everything, but I think if you can't, if you can't put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're talking to or you're dealing with, no matter what situation they've been in, I think it's hard to relate to them, you know. And there's a fine line, you know. But, you know, I think that, but it's also, look, man, we're a village here, all right? I'm not the only one. We've got a really great resource staff, you know, our player development group, Jessica and Sean, and then the coaches, man. That's another reason why you want to hire coaches that are good communicators and they can relate, but also push and get the most out of these players. So I think it's all encompassing.
One of the things that's stood out since you've been here is you've kind of protected players from themselves through the week and not letting them push through injuries. You've always been kind of conservative with that. A couple times in games this season, Branch and now McNeil, they've come back into games and seemingly made the injury worse. And I'm wondering if there's anything that needs to be reevaluated through that process, just because it's different in game with the adrenaline. And
how do you know they made it worse?
Well, they played and now he's going to miss 4 games, or he came back and played and then Branch missed, I think, 2 or 3. So I guess that's an assumption.
Yeah, I'd be careful on that assumption. You know, because I think if we really felt like, man, they're going to make this thing work, we're not putting them back in there. It's not worth all that, you know, to where, all right, man, we can see if he can limp along and now we're going to lose him for 6 weeks. We're not doing that. But if the player thinks they can do it, then, and that's like Mac went back in there, he tried, hey, it doesn't feel right, it came back out. But it wasn't, so I don't feel that way. But what are you asking?
Yes. Do you have to protect the player from himself? Because you're asking the player in these situations, is this a situation where you need to evaluate a little bit more closely and you make the decision?
Listen, absolutely. And I think that, to me, there's a difference between, you know, there's, man, you get some of these, you think you're going to make them worse. Like these can become significant if it's not worth it. But if these are things, listen, the thing's stable, it's a pain issue. Now whether you can deal with it or not, that's up to the player. It's not. But I think those are a little bit different, And if it's not going to get worse, he's going to have to deal with pain. He wants to go back in. I'm all for it. But if we feel like, man, we could put this player behind, and relative to the production we're going to get out of him being less than 100%, it's probably not worth it. Then yeah, we don't want to do that to our guys,
Last question, Eric. Justin Fields, I mean, you look at him against the run, he's been successful in the last 2-3 games. I guess how much of an emphasis is it on, no matter how you playing before and playing you guys, just the emphasis on stopping the run versus him? Why do you think he's been able to be so successful this year?
Who's that again?
Justin Fields.
Yeah, just on what he's been able to do. And, every week, I guarantee you every team does the same as what we're talking about. It's how you contain this guy. You keep him in the pocket. You don't let him out. And every week he gets out. Every week. Like, it's on the Minnesota tape. And I guarantee you, B-Flow's telling them, this is how we have to hold this guy in there. This is how we have to rush. This is how we have to contain. And sure enough, he makes another play. It's a different speed. It's a different quickness. And it's hard to simulate in practice. We're going to do the best we can with it. But it's always got to be an emphasis. And he's just, listen, he's dangerous. He's one of these rare, dangerous players. And I tell you what he's done a really good job of from this year, from last year to this year, is once if it's a pass and he starts to move, he's still moving with eyes down the field much more than I felt like he had previously. And that's extremely dangerous. Because even the Minnesota, he had 2 or 3 receivers wide open after he had kind of run, found a way through, broke contain, and now all of a sudden he gets an explosive pass off of it. But he is dangerous, and he everything starts with him for us defensively and containing these guys.
You talked last week about the importance of your players knowing that you still believe in them when things aren't going as well as you want. Was there like a formative experience in your playing career that shaped that principle for you? And how do you go about sort of transmitting that belief while you're still trying to correct what has to be corrected?
I don't know if I could necessarily pinpoint one thing. I just, but I think when a coach believes in you, and if you feel like they don't necessarily. So, I mean, for me, most of the time it was if I was getting cussed at, that was probably a good sign. If you weren't getting talked to, that's probably not good. So that always was a positive for me. Like, all right, good. You're still getting cussed at. They like you. But, times have changed a little bit. But I think, look, man, I know this. Confidence is a huge part of any player's psyche. It makes you play so much faster, so much more free. And so I think, but that comes from practice. Right? I mean, the confidence comes from doing what you're coached to do, working through the little things, and that's where you first gain it, man. You do it right in practice, or you mess it up in practice, and then come back and correct it from what a coach told you to. Man, you gain confidence from that, and I think that's our job, is to foster confidence, but you can't just give it, man. It's got to be earned, and it's got to be worked for.
Just to be clear on Justin's question, with Gardner Johnson, Branch, Aleem, Decker, you don't feel like going back in impacted their status for the next week?
I don't feel that way. I don't. Look, Decker maybe, because he played the whole game on that thing. I think CJ, it was done. I mean, he just willed himself to play the rest of that game. It was already torn, which we didn't know at the time, which is hard. You do the test and he's good and he feels, and so, look, there's always going to be a little bit of that give and take. You do the best you can with it, and you got to trust your doctors, and you got to trust the player too at some point, and then use your gut on it, But I don't think this is something we if we think we're going to set a player back, he's out for the rest of the year. You're going to set him back 6 weeks, whatever that is. I mean, it doesn't make sense, So, all right.